come online, then the 10% growth projected in the official plan would be completely wrong, right? We wouldn't be able to service that on all of our services. We couldn't handle that kind of growth outside of the sewer system. So what I'm wondering is, if everybody's to share the cost equally, how do the people, we're going to borrow all the money now, the people who aren't participating in the system now are not paying we're going to pay more interest by building for the whole capacity. So are people later going to pay more than people using the system now, or brought online, like if South Pines is brought on now, and some of the people in South Bend don't end up coming online for 10 years or more, how come they shouldn't be paying more?
Actually, we talked to the treasurer about that, and I hesitate to sound like an expert because
yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of open questions here.
Yeah, but there is kind of a sliding scale. It's not like a consistent.
Development charges are going to go up, but not proportionally to the cost of not the future costs of not of that waiting 10 years down the road to jump in the fray.
Yeah, we also had the concern that who bears the costs of the life cycle replacement costs? Is it this current generation that carries it, or is it the ones in the future that are actually going to benefit from it, right?
Yeah.
So that didn't seem reasonable either. So, it's actually, to be honest with you, it's difficult for me to explain it. It's a bit too technical. All I know is that there are development fees. Everybody who is a prospective developer will have to pay a certain amount, but whether it's proportional to the interest rates that we're
because the problem I have is that we're basing this on 100% build out, and if we do that, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And what is the timeline for that full build out? Is it longer than the lifespan of the system?
The life cycle.
Like, should we see full build out of all those known developments within the life cycle of this system?
Well, that's the question. I mean, we are talking. There is a 2% increase per year estimated by the engineer, right?
Yeah.
And we would have a population increase of 2%. So.
But what would full build out be? Like, it would be 5 times that, right?
You have to keep in mind we have to share it, right?
Yeah.
We only have 2255 cubic meters. That's ours. The full build out, if Blue Water and South Huron stay in the system, stay in the plan, right?
Yeah. So
we have to. I don't have the numbers right here now. I don't have them all memorized, but we certainly, as you say, we can't necessarily anticipate that South Bend Estate's going to do its entire.
Because how would numbers become impacted if, say, 30% of that possible growth never happens, for whatever reason, within the life cycle of the system?
That's right. Then we have a lot of unused capacity, right?
Yeah, and extra debt, right? Because you're not going to recover those charges through development charges. You're not going to have that tax base, the user base.
Yes.
Then what happens? How does that cost us more? And it will have interest on top of it by the time that doesn't materialize.
So we really have 2 problems, right? Yeah. We don't know for sure that these developments are even going to go forward. So we might not use the capacity, and other people are going to.
And if they did go forward, we probably wouldn't need.
If they all do go forward, then we don't have enough capacity.
Yeah, I know we're talking.
Right, so we have 2 separate issues. And do the users, the 2,700 existing users, bear the cost of that?
Yeah.
Because it's only paid through user fees. Infrastructure has to be paid through user fees, not through taxation. So that's going to be a burden on all of those people. Or are we going to insist that zone 3 and 4 go on? And if they do, then it definitely prevents any other development from going on. We'll definitely use all the capacity servicing now, as I understand it.
And we'll have to increase development charges for continued development to cover some of the costs of it as well.
Right, which might discourage development.
Which will get out of hand.
Yes,
out of
which
line.
we're already noticing. Yeah, pretty much.
Robert B., South Pines, do you have figures to tell us what when the job is completed, what the cost is per household that are now on the system, and then those that we prospectively all on the system, so that we can compare as citizens what we feel like? Well, I'm not talking about the future growth, okay? Future growth is all about borrowing, right? But if we have some way to understand the value we're going to get from paying the system of the people in town versus all the regions that have septic systems that might go on it. So we have some way to say, the net worth to Lambton, this area of Lambton County, is this amount, and we as taxpayers feel excited or we don't feel excited about this situation in our area. Because we're doing exactly what's happening in Europe. We're making all these projections like they made for years, and we're saying we'll pay for the system 15 years from now. We've got 100 different variables, so we don't even know what our net cost is for each resident that's here now to begin with. So I would appreciate a figure like that.
Work from that number.
We have that number.
Earlier, Dick Matzka, earlier it was mentioned that there's going to be a life cycle cost with the STF. Was there a life cycle cost for the lagoons? There wasn't?
I don't believe it was required.
Was there money set aside during that 40 years?
Yes.
Not?
Yes.
There was?
But not specific.
Okay.
It's just been
It
legislated.
may not have been called life cycle, but there was money set aside during those 40 years. Where is that money?
It's a question for the treasurer.
So we got 5 members of the municipal operation here. Doesn't anybody have, I can't be the first guy to ever ask that question.
That's part of the reserves that are there that we're,
So is there real money that we can put into the STF project from, I'm going to call it life cycle, but I don't think that's the correct terminology. Is there real money? It wasn't used in Forest or Thetford or Arcona?
We'll try to get that
We'll try.
question answered for you by the 10th, okay?
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, a couple of meetings ago, the mayor said to, specifically to this group here, that there are only a few people that were in dispute of putting in sewers and a sanitation plan. And that those are the people that show up. For example, Sharon, myself, Jordy, other people. Thank you, sorry. I want you to know I have 45 signed, call them petitions, call them notes, whatever, that say they don't want the sanitation treatment facility, they don't want the sewers. I picked these up. I had laid them down at a bridge game, and there were 12 people there. 11 of those 12 signed without any pushing from my side. The next night I went to a dinner in Southcott Pines, and I got the rest of them, just people coming and signing. The people in your community already realize we're 21 million in debt. We don't need to be $5 more in debt, and we don't need either one of these. This gentleman just pointed out that, heck, it could be 20, 40, 60 years before we ever use this plant. Thank you.
Is this a question, Bob?
Question and clarification. First of all, the statement was made by the mayor. You said that everything was done correctly in regard to Zone 4, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. In Zone 3, it was not done correctly in the opinion of the MOB. Do you agree with that?
They asked for further review or further notification,
They directed you to send notification to every person, every property owner.
and we did.
And to extend the time period.
And we did.
Are you aware now you cannot do an EA without notifying every property owner at their mailing address anywhere in Ontario?
I'm not aware of that.
Part of that was because so many people in Zone 3 didn't know, except that there were some people with big mouths that made sure they knew about what was going on. And somebody said that the septic systems failed at about 25, 30 years. The beds